What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Smart Flip, the Phone Flippers podcast. Guys, today we're going to be talking all about game consoles. We don't have a guest today. So today we are going to take the opportunity and talk about Matt's journey into game consoles up until where he is now, how long he's been, teaching people, leaving his job, things like that, and really excited to kind of go over a lot of that today. So, with that being said, let's kind of jump right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think you're a little grainy, Matt.
Uh-oh. How's that?
I can still hear you fine, so it'll probably fix on upload. But let's rock and roll. So, Matt, let's start from the beginning, dude. Where were you born? Just kidding. When were you introduced into the console world, my man?
Yeah. So I've been gaming for a long time, since I was a kid. Here's a cool story a lot of people don't know. When I was really young, I was in first grade and we had a raffle at my school, and I thought that I would sell like a couple things to get entered in that raffle. And I actually won the raffle and received a Nintendo. And I didn't even remember it. I was going home on like the daycare van as like a little kid, and somehow these guys were like, "Yo, like you won. Did you hear about it?" And I was like, "I did." Like, and so my parents went back to the school, and sure enough, like I guess I had won like the Nintendo that they were giving away for like the raffle, like the only one. That was it. And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." So that's how I ended up getting that device, and then I started, just kind of messing around gaming as a kid and stuff. And so that was a lot of fun. And then I guess if you move forward, like reselling didn't necessarily start with like reselling like on eBay. Reselling started with seventh grade, where I had a giant. I think I told you the story. I had a big old winter coat, and I would go to school. This is probably halfway through the school year. I discovered like, oh, I could stuff my pockets full of candy, and everybody was wanting food before lunchtime, so I would sell the candy to guys in my classroom. And I was leaving school with like $9 to $11 a day, which when you're like 11, 12 years old, that feels significant, because it's like I want to buy extra ice cream. I want to get something at the store. I can do all that. And that was pretty cool. And my dad found out, and he was like, "All right, we're going to start taking like regular trips to the Dollar Tree." So that's what we did. We started going to Dollar General like every other day almost. Because I was running low on supply, man, and the plug, they needed their plug. And so um, that was where I kind of got a vibe of wanting to like resell. And then I was transitioning I'm originally from South Carolina, uh, and I was transitioning from South Carolina to the Midwest where I live now in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I decided that I needed a side hustle. I moved back. I moved here. I moved originally to the Midwest in '06. I moved back. I moved away and then moved back in 2015. And that was when, well, no, it was 2017. Yeah, 2017. That was when I decided, okay, I would like an official side hustle, like something that I could kind of sink my teeth into, something that wasn't like necessarily like teaching, because I'd been working with students in both ministry and in the classroom for 20 years when I transitioned out of reselling. But that's what I decided that I wanted to kind of take a swing at. And so I had a Celtic carrier that I used to haul my daughter around on. Yeah. Can you see me? Can you see me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good now.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. I know it's making sure I'm not like
A
running
little
anything
choppy,
here
but your
that's
voice is good.
all right. Cool. Um, so yeah, I wanted to make sure that, I guess, whether my wife was in transition or if I was in transition, that we had, something extra. And so I started with the Kelty carrier that I had in my garage, which was just a little backpack that you haul your kids around in. And I had picked up a course Actually, from my friends Rob and Melissa Stevenson. Shout out to them, really good people. Flea Market
Shout
Flipper.
out to the flea market flipper.
Yep. So I snagged that course, and it was like, hey, just start with stuff in your house. And so I sold that Kelty Carry on eBay. It sold 2 or 3 days later over the weekend for like 100, $110. And then I came across, I started just kind of looking at different stuff, different items that they suggested flipping, and I liked some of that stuff, but some of it was bigger, and some of it moved a little bit slower. And I was like, well, there's a lot of opportunity. It looks like with electronics, and that's when I came across David Kosciuszko's course. This is probably circa 20, late 2018, maybe 2019. Yeah, it's 2019. And I was like, all right, cool, let me buy this. And of course, Dave's talking a lot about phones. And so I, went and picked up a phone, failed on the deal. I bought it for too much. I sold it for too little. Like those basic things. Yeah, because your first two phones, like, you didn't make money on them, right?
Yeah, they were both iCloud locked. I didn't even know what that was. Didn't even know what an iPhone was or how it worked or anything like that. So yeah,
Right.
I lost money.
Yeah. And
But
then
it
you
is what
started
it is.
flipping Samsungs, and you were pretty good after that.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I worked my way up after that. So it's kind of interesting. We talk a lot about, like, I started with no knowledge, really, at
hmm
all.
hmm
Dude, I'd never even mailed anything from the post office before. Like, that was
Wow.
that new. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
that's yeah. Wow.
So
That that's
definitely,
significant.
like, that was a fear of mine, was actually putting something in the post office. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, no, I get that. Let's see. My first few items I sold, I was not actually even following the course, even though I had two courses at this point, I think. I had Dave's and I had Flea Market Flipper. And I wasn't following the course. I was going to the post office and just paying regular postage. I wasn't printing anything out on eBay. Like, I was just, I know how this works. I'll figure this out. And I was
Uh
like,
huh.
crap,
Yep.
I'm losing like $5 to $7 per shipment. And about 5 to 10 shipments in, I was like, I'm dumb. Like, I'm so dumb. Like, what am I doing? Um, and so, yeah, I used the foundation from those two courses actually to help me kind of start to get enough courage to like flip consoles. And I was like, well, I just need to really know what I can get out of it. If I can just buy a couple and like fail my way through this, I'm sure I can figure it out. And so I think I bought like a Nintendo 64. I think I picked up like a PS3, and I bought an Oculus CV1. And the Oculus I sent to this guy, and I didn't really do my due diligence to test it very well. I guess he said it smelled like cigarettes, which I didn't even bother to put it on my face and test that theory. I was just like, sure, it works. It looks great. It did, and it looked good. And there was a screw loose on one of the earpieces, because the early ones had those little like dangly earpieces that just kind of flap over your ears if you know the device. And so that fell off like as the guy was gaming on it, and so he was immediately disgruntled, and I got a return, and he sent it back to me, and that's where I was like, okay, well, I gotta sell this item and try to at least like retain some profit, which ended up being like a really happy accident and helped me like cultivate some really cool like methods and approaches on, all right, how am I going to actually make money like reselling consoles. And by the time I sold like 3 to 5 consoles, I was hooked, and I started taking like the same methodology and approach to each unique console and applying it. If you know, you know. And that
Is
was
that where the start out method? Is that where
yeah,
that came from?
yeah.
Okay. Because I was
And
gonna ask that, like, where did that come from? So it sounds like it was a happy accident.
mhm.
Nice. That's
And
pretty
so that
cool.
was where it's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, let me see if I can start to determine like what's my appropriate like amount to get into each deal, and what I need to get out of each deal. And where I kind of landed was I started to notice that consistently, deal after deal, I was starting to make somewhere between like 50, 60, then it was like 70, and then I was making like 70 to 100% returns on just about every deal. And I was like, on phones, I wasn't making that much. And with some of these other deals, they weren't moving as fast. but I think this might be like the happy medium between like deals that move quickly but also have really great returns. And that's when I was hooked. That's when I was like sold on something that I discovered. I thought I had like, shot the moon. And I was still teaching, right? This was in 2019. I was like teaching. Um, I'd been like charging scooters, like Bird and Lime scooters, up until then to make some money to like buy my courses and like then use that to like fuel buying like other things like devices and stuff. And so I actually did that until I had saved up $10,000, which I think is a story that I told on the very first episode. But yeah, I'd set that aside and save that. And so like that was like really helpful because I had this margin to make mistakes that a lot of people are scared to make. And so I wasn't concerned if I bought 4 or 5 devices and it was like, psh, whatever, like
Yeah.
if this works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so from there, I had that money and I wanted to like also pursue like some other business endeavors with it. And so I set that to the side, bought a little bit of crypto. Of course, that was 2019, 2020. So like buy the dip, it's going up, baby. We both have our own stories about that, right?
I got to about that. Yeah.
Which of course, guys, to the thing like with crypto, like I started actually like buying more consoles and I bankrolled that into crypto. I actually cashed out some of my crypto in 2021 right after like kind of in the middle of the COVID thing and bought my house, which was cool. So like I don't think that's something that like is a lot of like people really know or is like major public knowledge is that like how did I actually buy this home? Well, it started actually with just trying to like make some extra money, and then it started furthermore with actually rolling that extra income into buying and flipping consoles, which then I used to invest, which I then used to buy a house. So like you could almost literally say that like buying and reselling consoles helped me to also learn to get a home,
That's
because
awesome.
I had been a homeowner before. I started a business. It failed. This was back in 2012, 2013, and I lost my house. It literally, like, I did like a short sale. It got foreclosed on and everything. And I was like, wow, this feels like total epic failure, right? So this time I was really ready to like work hard and make sure that, of course, that didn't happen, but also ensure that if if I was going to move forward, I was going to take like more calculated risk, you know. And I think that's one thing that I absolutely love about the stuff you and I get to teach is that we don't teach people to be, avant-garde and stupid with their money. Like I think some people they look at what you're teaching. They look at I don't know if they look at what I'm teaching and just go, that feels risky. Electronics. It's like it's only risky when you're ignorant of what actually is taking place. Like the quicker you can take action and inform yourself about what's going on, like okay, and what's going on, then like ultimately you can. Sorry, my daughter's trying to communicate me as I'm having this podcast and stuff. Um, so like as you're going through this process though, like you go, oh, okay, cool, like I learned how to do this and I learned how to do this, and you just keep stacking that skill. We've talked a good bit about skill stacking
Yeah.
within like this continual podcast week after week. And so yeah, I think that's the thing that ultimately like helps to expunge and like take away all that ignorance and all of that lack of confidence and that hesitation of buying and selling and doing that more aggressively. Because once you start buying devices, let's say you go out and you drop $800, $1,200 on some devices, you don't start there. Nobody starts there.
Yeah.
um,
Nobody starts there. Well,
but
some
you
people, but no, most people don't.
yeah, but you eventually start to feel like really confident and great. And I don't know, like what would you have to say to that, to like the fear that people sometimes have with reselling consoles or just kind of reselling in general?
I mean, most of what I see is like people they're scared they're not going to get their money back. Like that's the
Right.
biggest thing.
Yeah.
Um, but that's just a simple. And I say simple, but it's not simple to somebody who's brand new. Is you have to understand the market value of an item. Like what I see a lot of new people do is they'll go and look at like retail value, and that's not it's not the same. There's a market value and there's a retail value, and it's important to know the difference between the two. Um, so I think that's probably the biggest thing is people are just scared that they won't get a return on their money very
Yeah.
quickly. And if you're always thinking like that, and like what I would say is start out with the lower items like that are going to sell, right? I mean, consoles we already know those are going to sell. That's why we start a lot of our students off that way, is because we know that they have a slower sales cycle, but
Yeah.
there's also a less amount of investment needed into
Mm-hmm.
them. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can buy an Oculus Quest 2 for 80 to $100
Mm-hmm.
almost daily, like depending on your area. I mean, those are hitting the market daily at this point. And then you got like the PS4, like those are still you can still buy them for 30, $40 and flip them for 80 to
Yep.
100.
Yep.
Like, and those, that's why we kind of teach that is because they
Yep.
are less risky flips. They're basically guaranteed to sell, and
Yep.
it's really hard to lose if you just keep doing that over and over and over again. You can just get used to the boring cycle of how things work.
Yeah.
And then obviously as you get more money, you can take bigger risks. They're not even risks if you know what they're going to sell for, though. Like, I
It's
mean, I
true.
just bought this Z Flip 5 the other day, which you guys will see on a day in the life episode that I got coming out here soon.
Oh, sweet.
But I made well over $100 in profit. I paid 200. I paid 200. It sold for 383. I knew it sold for 383 immediately because I
Mm-hmm.
figured it out before I ever bought the item. I
Mm-hmm.
bought it, listed it, it sold the same day.
Yep.
So once you know what you're doing and you got the skills and the reps, it's hard to lose. But we always we that's probably the biggest thing is most people just don't have the 20 hours needed to be put in to be risk adverse to it, I guess.
That's an interesting thought, and even the way you phrase that, most people don't have. And I think it's like, how can someone find 2 to 3 hours a day after work to sit down and crash watching Netflix and not find an extra little bit of time, 30 minutes, an hour, to
Yeah.
begin to make profits? And I think it's interesting thinking about like, the grass is greenest where you water it. If you just put small compounded efforts can't be discredited because they are huge compounded over time. And if you take these small gains, if you take these small entry level items like consoles, like something that doesn't sell for a lot but could still be a really good flip, and I think it's one of the most slept on items is a Nintendo Wii. Um, if you can find a nice Nintendo Wii with the right stuff, I mean, you can flip that and you can literally start there. I mean, it's an entry level item that typically I would encourage people to buy for 30 to $50, right? Like, you could go donate plasma and get 30 to $50
There you go. Yep.
and
Yeah.
literally like finance the beginning of a financial revolution in your life. Um,
Yep.
and so as far as excuses and not having time or energy or focus, like those are things that I think Jim Rohn says that that discipline is the bridge, between those things. And so when you can start to just apply just a small amount of discipline and start to get traction with these little things, one of the things I love most, and I feel like you probably feel the same, is when people step into this coaching scene. Excuse me, let me power on my laptop. Apparently, I feel like this happens each and every episode. All right, so I think that one of the most powerful things though is to see somebody. We've got multiple. We've got a really good data pool of students now, between yourself and myself, of people both purely with consoles or with phones, or in a lot of cases with both. Where
Yeah.
this person was starting off pretty low income. They took a shot. They didn't have the education. They needed it. We helped to educate them, accelerate that learning curve massively, and then introduce them to items that could be bought and sold that were easy, like double your money deals. They do that compounded over like a couple of weekends. 30, 60 days later, they have like $1,500, $3,000.
Yeah.
And Now they're ready to start a second stream where they're not just doing, reach outs and reaching out for those deals like I teach so much. But, now they can, capture your expertise too, which is like, hey, start getting some ads, start getting both of those streams going, right? And now you've got, if you've got two tributaries like flowing into a space, that's going to be more turbulent. There's going to be rapids there. And so, you can take that and apply it to money as well. You're going to have more aggressive earnings and you might have some more aggressive spendings. But with each of these, like your brain is kind of expanding of like, all right, what's possible? What can I do? What's achievable within my own realm of income? And I think for me, and I feel like I'm speaking for the both of us, but I think for me, like that is probably the thing that just like never gets old, is like watching that transformation happen, both for people and to their lifestyle. It's like 60 to 90 days could literally change your life.
No, 100%. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like, if you had a focused effort and you, like, for example, and you committed, let's just say 30 days to flipping electronics, and you commit, so I mean, this is all laid out within like the Recelerator stuff, right? So
Right.
like if you do 20 reach outs a day and you respond to all of the leads you get by spending $15 a day on that, not that
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
450 a month. I know it sounds like a lot, but at the same time, you got to imagine, like, you don't pay that right away. Just so you guys
Yeah.
are aware,
Yeah.
that money doesn't get paid right away. You give that money to Facebook, then you pay later. That's how that works. Same way with Google. So I don't think a lot of people realize that. It's almost like financing, but you'll have to like pay it later. Either way.
Yep.
But you do 20 reach outs today. You respond to all of your leads. You follow up with your leads. You spend time in the course. Like, that's one of our main things, is like, you got to finish 100% of your accelerator to actually like, hit our guarantee. Like, that is how it
Yep.
works.
Yeah.
And we've seen, like, the people that finish 100% of our curriculum, and it's a pretty dense curriculum,
Yeah.
they freaking win, man. Like,
Yeah.
they win. And then, what was the last one? I can't remember the last one at the moment. But the thing is like, Aaron Goldstein says this all the time. Aaron, whenever he was coming up, and I need to bring him on the podcast so he can actually say this too, but like, he said he would listen to the course videos over and, like, David's course videos
Mm-hmm.
specifically, over and over and over and over again. And the reason he did that, he understood this way earlier than I did, was because he would get experience. Like, he would get the knowledge before he got the experience, which is almost like putting the cart for the horse,
Yeah.
right? So he would get the knowledge, he would go and apply it, and he would actually like get in what David said was happening, right? Like,
Right.
he would now have the perspective, so he would go back and re-listen to the videos, and then he would have a much bigger grasp. It's like having the whole picture at that point, because you don't have the whole picture until you have the experience.
It's true.
And so, and I have this happen a lot with books. So I reread a lot of books. And the reason I do that is simply because, like, I reread it from a different perspective in my life at that point. I'm rereading How to Win Friends and Influence People. And every single time I've just ended up applying a different chapter in my life in a different way. Just because now every single time I have more experience. And it's very interesting. So that's something I recommend big time, is like, don't stop. Like, once you've gone through the course, you need to go through it multiple times, or a course in general. Like, once you actually apply the knowledge that's in the thing, go back and re-listen to it, because I guarantee you there's stuff you missed that you didn't know because you didn't have the actual like experience of doing that. And it hits different the second time you listen to it, or the third time, or the fifth time, or the 10th time. Like, it's so crazy how it works. It's like a weird feedback loop that your brain just keeps stacking on top of each other. It's almost like, it's like one brick is the knowledge, another brick is the experience, and then you go back and grab another brick, and then you just keep building your brick wall. It's very interesting how it works.
That fascinates me. And I'm going to use this. My big thing that I really love is causality. It's like taking things that seem somehow inherently unrelated and seeing how they do relate. And so I I like to I crave and kind of hoard information in my brain, trying to connect these dots sometimes, and it's always fun when like you're talking about, like these reps of informing yourself, like getting information in you, putting it into application, and then gaining the experience that further validates the information that goes, oh, yeah, it's the type of situation that causes people to come back and go, oh, what Matt was saying was right. Like this way of selling consoles on eBay does work. Or Chris was right. These things do sell. You know what I mean? Like what's so interesting is on the front side of this, people who are so invested in their own rightness because, again, they don't have the experience. If you don't have the knowledge or the experience, you are especially unqualified to criticize somebody who is coming at you from an angle of expertise. I would like to say that, just to the general public, because the internet is filled with opinions and people who love to be right. And it's like, great, you can be right. You can also be poor and right. I would rather learn and not be poor. So I think that there's an importance of like humility and putting yourself in a position to be a teachable person. But I was watching a documentary about Bill Watterson. He's the creator of Calvin and Hobbes. I freaking love Calvin and Hobbes. It's like the best comic ever, in my opinion. And uh, there's this guy who's like a comic, and he's like, if you want to be a really good comic and you want to write really good comic strips, he goes, take a stack of paper, start with a stack that is as high as you are tall. He goes, and then start trying to make a comic strip on each one of those. He goes, your best idea is probably somewhere about here. And he holds like his hand out, and it's about halfway, like down his height, or the stack of paper, right? And I'm like, there's something here to be said, not just about drawing comics, but just about the general degree to which like most things like become more fluid. My daughter was in a production, a theater production. She's about to go into eighth grade, and she loves theater and singing and all that sort of stuff. And she was really, really exhausted with practice by the time they were about to do the production. And I was like, well, keep at it, because usually by the time it's almost disgusting to you, like you're just tired and done with it, it's probably the time you're actually starting to get like pretty good at it. That's when you're probably starting to achieve like some level of real fluency and stuff. So I kind of look at that and go, huh. So the time that I'm like, by the time that I've flipped, like, I don't, like we've talked about this before as well, but like I think I've looked at over 40,000 deals on Facebook Marketplace since I've started doing this. That's probably low, but a lot of deals. And people are like, Matt, how do you find deals so quickly? Well, it's like, I don't know how to not find deals quickly now. I almost don't know how to answer that question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's just ingrained. It's like in me. It's like, Chris, how do you know these ads are going to work? Well, they can't not work if we just do it like this. And from the person who has no perspective, it's like, I don't see how this is going to work. And you're like, well,
Yeah,
you don't know. You don't know what
that,
you don't know.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the way it works, right? It's like, yeah, like you don't know until you know, right? And a lot of people they want to know before they actually take the action, right? Like, okay, well, if we take that, like, if you make a trade in the stock market, do you know that it's going to go up, or is it going to plummet as soon as you get in?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's kind of the same. You're taking the same gamble in a way, right?
Yeah.
But over recorded history, it's gone up by 8%,
right,
every single year, right?
Yep.
So there's your proof, but it can still crash like the day you put in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of I like to look at it in extremes. It's like, okay, so if we were to like, and I learned this from some mentors of mine. It's like, okay, how can we guarantee that it won't work? And then work it back from there. Like, how can we literally just guarantee that this will not work? Well, I mean, we just couldn't start the ads. Like, that would guarantee that we make absolutely no money from ads.
That is a fair point.
The reverse of that is starting the ads. How can we guarantee that we make no money, even if we start the ads? Oh, well, I mean, we definitely shouldn't reply to any leads. The opposite of that is replying to your leads, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can we guarantee that we make no money by talking to our leads? Oh, we don't follow up. Just make sure you don't follow up, right?
Hmm.
And the opposite of that is obviously following up. So if you take the extreme, like the negative extreme,
Hmm.
and that'll basically give you your answer most of the time. And if you just think about it like that,
Yeah.
and that changed the game for me. It's kind of like, okay, all right, there's this big huge goal that I got to hit.
Hmm.
So what what would I like? What would I have to not do to not hit it? Like, what are the steps that I need to do to not hit the goal? And then you basically just like do the opposite, and there's your answer. You know,
Hmm. Yeah. No, that's
like
fair.
like I knew the steps. So this award here, this $1 million award for groups,
Yeah.
like that took 3 years to get a focused effort. Focused effort. It was
Yeah.
aggressive, focused effort. Um, and it finally happened. It was just doing pretty much the same thing every day for an extended period of time,
Yeah.
and you know, yeah, that's how that
Yeah.
went.
Which isn't a particularly exciting way for to spell out success, but it success is a very like it's weird. It's kind of a very aloof sort of thing to define. Like success is doing the same thing that builds, the appropriate results compounded over time. Hey, you're a success, right? Whereas I think in most people's minds, like success looks more like these sort of like branded like markers of like finance and income. Hey, I made $1 million, success, right?
Hmm.
Right, and so people fixate on that and they try to like move towards this destination without realizing that like the person who you are becoming through the process and the journey is actually what's going to breed that result. And so you can't stop doing what earned you that $500 over the weekend reselling consoles and suddenly just like expect that money's going to continue to show up. Like there has to be something to meet that inertia, right? Like someone's got to keep pushing the ball a little bit, till it really starts to compound. And I think that's a cool thing is like you can get your finances snowballing so much faster. I think, and Gary Vee talks about the power of the flip game, and I'm sold on the power of the flip game. But like, I think if somebody is watching this and they're wondering, all right, what is the absolute best way to start making 50 to 100 extra bucks on a daily basis or just through the weekend, you start by reselling consoles. Buy consoles anywhere from the range of 20 to like 70 bucks. Can I show you consoles that you can turn around and flip and double that and keep compounding and keep doubling that? Absolutely. Like, and I can say that without question, without exception, with total confidence because I've seen it happen so many times. Like for me, as I was building up my finances, like I was like I saved. I think first I did like $1,000 in consoles, and then I had like 3 grand, and then I had like 5 grand, and then I had like 12 grand, and then I was like, holy cow, this is like really going somewhere. Um, and in fact, you and I had a phone call at one point where I think it was for something ridiculous, kind of crypto related, but it was like, hey, I was like, I've saved up 10 grand. That was the first time I ever talked to you on the phone, um,
Yeah.
and you were like, dude, that's kind of impressive. And I was like, yeah, man, just like flipping, electronics, and of course, from that time to this, like things are different. But for me, like the cool thing is going into school as a teacher, like I'm working very, very restricted hours, which I know for a lot of people, the desire to do this is I want to get out of my job. Like, can you endure the continued struggle at your job while you continue to do well at something like this? So that your things are in order, right? Don't think that this is going to happen overnight. Don't think that don't think that the course is going to solve your financial issues for you, which I think is a classic blunder some people make when they're jumping into reselling anything. But if you can devote, I'd say 90 days of intense focused effort and realize that this is not how it's going to be the rest of your life, but this is how it's going to be for now, and do that for 90 days, you can you can then begin to navigate out of that position that maybe you're not a fan of and into doing something like this more full time, or doing something like this while you continue to work your job and then invest in other things. But I transitioned out of teaching a year ago, and had a great year financially last year. Did 78% ROI within my business. And also, the cool thing is while I was still teaching, I was having days where I was reselling that were like matching my salary as a teacher and sometimes exceeding it. And the point I wanted to make about that was at some point, for everybody that watches this, hears this, or checks out a replay or whatever, you have to really think about the difference between wages and profits. Wages is what you get in exchange for your time. Profits are not restricted to what you can accomplish hour upon hour. Profits could be, hey, you flipped a Z flip like Chris had, and you made 130 bucks off of that deal. Or you flipped a valve index like one of my students recently had, and he made 500 bucks off of that deal. Or you resold a Sony camera like another one of my students, Carlin, recently did, and you made a sweet little bundle off of that. Like this, this knowledge really starts to like give you some incredible profits, and that's the thing is like I had to make that mental switch, and that was tough for me after being in the classroom for like roughly 20 years, because you just get, I guess you get institutionalized for lack of a better term, like. You have to unlearn the things that you've learned because there is a different way. I think there is a better way, and there is a way that is more right, probably, than your way that you're acclimated to doing this. And if you can humble yourself and say, okay, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe there's some blind spots and gaps here that I don't see, that that's what's actually going to change your capacity to absorb and take on the work and start to like make more. Because if you can't change what you believe, if you can't believe that it's possible, like you're kind of defeated before you start. And that that's more frustrating than anybody, like to watch the number of people that have like said, hey Chris, I want to resell electronics or phones, or hey Matt, I want to flip consoles, buy a course and then just like do nothing with it, and then like blast you on the social medias because like, oh, this doesn't work.
Well, luckily that's never happened to me. So
Oh, this doesn't work. It's like, oh, okay, well, like, yeah, nothing work. You know what happens to those who do nothing? They become nothing.
yeah, true.
That hurts. That sucks. That's not a pleasant thing to acknowledge, or like to like think, oh, okay. But I would occasionally say that to exceptionally lazy students when I was still teaching. I was like, hey, you're not going to do any work today? Nah, I don't feel like it. Well, you know what happens to those who do nothing? They become nothing. And sometimes I get some very interesting looks because you can't refute that. Like, that's a truth bomb, and it is what it is. um,
Good way
but
to look at it. That make them, question their life a little bit.
I don't know. Things like that. Sometimes I find that I have to kind of almost frustrate myself to the point of like taking action, because it's like, okay, no, that is not going to be my story. That is not going to be me. Um, I want to live a life that feels different, and I also want the people in my wake, my wife, my kids, my mom, who was just
Yeah.
visiting with me for the last 6 weeks, to be able to savor and enjoy the experiences and the things. And in the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here like and have this conversation with you and say that it's all about money. It's really not. I think it's about the freedom, it's the opportunity, it's the choices, and it's the chance to decide for yourself, what do I want to do with the day? The day's got a lot of potential. Um, I
Yep.
could go be a wage earner. That potential is limited by my boss or my supervisor or my direct report, or I could make profits, and that's not defined by anything except how much do I want to work today and what do I want to do. Um,
Yep.
and I think that's the twist between like earner and like entrepreneur, is like it's really just about the recipe of output input. If I put more in, I'm going to get more out, and um, you do that over shorter amounts of time. If you really bust your tail buying and reselling consoles for the next 90 days, then the 90 days to follow, you probably won't have to buy and resell as many consoles. You can be a little more casual about it. But there is going to be a season of intensified direct focus where you're going to have to task yourself and be the master of your own level of energy and focus. And if anybody can walk away, I think, from this conversation between us and take that little nugget and like just take that one little piece, guys, and put that into action or activity, and then report back to Chris or myself. Drop us a DM or ping us on school or Facebook, and tell us what resulted, because those are the things that just get me pumped up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with a lot of that, or all of it, really. But I mean, like, I see so many people. Um, a lot of people just don't take the first step, and the reason we recommend the consoles, like, if you're just joining in the reselling game at all, like, we recommend consoles simply because it's honest. I mean, they're everywhere. They're literally everywhere. I mean, phones are everywhere too. Phones are a little bit harder, but like with consoles, you don't really have to worry about the same issues you have with phones, with like the blacklisting and carrier lock and the value of sending, like
Scams,
all of that
yeah,
stuff. Like none of that is even a factor when it
it's
comes
true.
to the consoles and VR games.
It's true.
At least not yet. At least not yet. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah,
It could be. It more than likely could be coming down the road.
yeah.
Um, but
But I
right
mean,
now,
if people do have the fear of that, Chris, I mean, it's you help them learn how to avoid scams, right?
yeah, of course, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like same here, guys. Like, don't let fear of it's stupid that people take these things that are like to the fringe, right? These things that are like to the margin, and then they go, but what if? And then they use that to
yeah,
justify their actions, and they make that the rule. Guys, you can't do that. It's not how you live your life. Just to interject and say that quickly, because like a lot of people are like, well, what if I get scammed? Yeah, I've got Chris has gotten scammed. I've gotten scammed. Students have gotten scammed. Okay,
part of the game.
but it was the exception. It's not the thing that
Yeah,
happens all the time, and people think that's the thing that's always going to be happening to them. So just had
yeah.
to
I
say
think
that.
people do take everything to the extreme a lot, and like, are you going to get scammed? Probably. Not gonna lie to you. I'm just gonna say it. Like, that's the dark part of entrepreneurship.
It's
It's
happened to
not
me.
all sunshine, rainbows, and Lamborghinis, bro. Like, there's hard work over here, and there are some people that take advantage of you and your hard work, and that happens. And you got to be okay with that. But guess
Yeah.
what? Your boss is buying your time daily. Is that not a scam to you? You know, like, it's your time.
Pyramid.
Yeah, it's a pyramid. If you want a real pyramid scheme, that's what it is. However, the world still needs to run. So, are you can either be the exception, or you can be, the normal NPC type person who just goes to their job on a daily basis and never wants anything more, and that's okay. You know, that's okay, because we still need those people. Um, but like, you guys live in I mean, most of you anyway that are listening to this, most of you guys live in a time in a country where, I mean, we just had the 4th of July. Now, putting all political and stuff aside, like, still the greatest country on earth to, you know, live out your dreams. You know, like, for the most part, we can still do whatever we want in terms of business, and we might pay too much taxes. I'm not going to get into that, but you know, um, yeah, I mean, take the, I was really glad to have Brandon on here talking about when he had to go back to Africa,
Uh huh.
and he said he couldn't do anything, like power would get shut off randomly.
Wow.
Like, sometimes wouldn't have water, and sometimes, like, I liked hearing that perspective. And then
Yeah.
whenever he came back, he took it to the extreme because he realized what he had.
Yeah.
He realized what he had here in
Yeah.
America whenever he got back, and he's like, I'm going to take full advantage of this right now. And he started at 15 years old, 15, flipping phones and electronics.
Yep.
He now does over $300,000 in profit a year, has a store and everything.
Yeah.
19 years old.
Yeah.
Guys, all of you guys have that ambition. You just gotta, just gotta awaken it, or whatever you gotta do.
Yep.
Um, so I don't even know how we got on all that, but
No,
take
there's a
advantage of what you guys have. Like, it's literally insane, guys. a lot of you guys think this is like difficult, and I'm going to go on a little rant here because I think it's necessary. Guys, we literally buy stuff, resell it online, and then just drop it off. Like, those are the three things that we do, and we make money. Like, it is so like it's almost comical how easy it is compared to past generations.
It's true.
Comical.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. Like, when have it's hard to even fathom it because I wasn't like born, but like, I was talking to my dad a couple years ago about marketing because I'm huge into marketing, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, Dad, how did you market your construction company um, whenever you were coming up? And he was doing stuff in the '70s and
Uh-huh.
yeah, '70s mostly and '80s. I was like, how did you market your business? He's like, ah, man, everything was word of mouth. Like, like if you didn't get referred, you didn't make money. Like there was no Facebook ads, there was no Google ads, there was. I don't even think the yellow pages were around yet. Like that, the only way he made money
Hmm.
was he had to do a fantastic job so that he would get referred or get another job from the same person.
Hmm.
That is what he had to do. You
Hmm.
guys are living in an age right now where you can literally pop on Facebook Marketplace, use Matt's stuff, and find a console today and make money. It's insane how simple and easy
Yeah.
this thing is right
Literally. Literally.
now. Like, and me and Matt were talking a couple weeks ago about this and how we were just bored about with how easy it was, and then we both realized like, oh wow, okay, we're just being all right, yeah, we're just being
Yeah.
lazy here.
I had to
We're
stop
just
being dumb.
yeah, yeah. It was just like, dude, all I do every day is just pick up stuff and sell stuff and ship stuff, and like that's it. And it's like, and making like $200-300 a day, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so bored, And then I really just sat back and thought, and I was like, okay, I need to really appreciate what I have right now.
Yeah, that's a
When
good.
when you do something a lot, you start to lose appreciation for it,
Yeah.
and I think that's where some people are. Like
Mm.
even a job, like I'll be real, like I've appreciated, like I've hated jobs, but at the same time I've appreciated them
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have money if I didn't have them. Kind of a two-way street there.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, I mean, guys, the opportunity is there. It is
Yeah.
there, and it's everywhere too. It's insane how plentiful it is. But people will still come up with excuses and say, "My area, this and that, and blah blah blah," and it just over and over again. I hear the same excuses. I
Yeah.
don't have money. Yeah, that's a big one. So okay, guys, sell stuff for your family. I guarantee you, do it for 50%. Open an eBay account. Ask your family members, hey, do you have any used, broken, damaged electronics or any other items that have some
Hmm.
value that
Hmm.
I can sell for you that you need to
Yep.
get rid of? And can we split it 50-50?
Yep.
You know what they'll probably say? They'll probably be like, oh, yeah. And then they'll show you their garage full of crap. How do I know that? Because I've done it.
Yeah.
Trust me, like it works. Like whenever I got started in this thing, I was excited. I was like, Mom, do you have any electronics that you might want to get rid of? And she's like, yeah, I got a whole bunch of like old cameras that I don't need anymore. Like they were just the little digital cameras. Guys, I sold all of them for like $200
Awesome.
and gave my mom 100. And
Right.
actually, I
So
don't think no, she told me not to give her any money because I was starting my business. So, you know,
yeah.
shout out to mom. But
But you could
yeah,
consign stuff. You can consign stuff for people, and that's
yeah,
like that's a
guys, I'm
great way
actually
to
going to
do
be trying something here pretty soon that I think you guys are going to love. I'm actually going to go and I want to test it out because I think it can be huge. I'm going to give door knocking a shot for flipping electronics. Like, I'm going to give that a shot and see how it works. That way I can bring it back to you guys. That way you guys literally have no excuse at that point. Like, I'm going to go around my neighborhood and just knock on some doors and go back to the good old days, spice it up a little bit and
it. Yeah.
test out the waters on if I can buy stuff directly from somebody's door,
Yeah.
and see how that works. I think it'll work pretty well, honestly, because you're hitting people that aren't on Facebook, not on Instagram, stuff like that. But um, Matt, is there anything else you wanted to add to your story, dude?
Um, guys, uh, there are still days where what I do is just good hard work. I don't want to paint a picture that that Chris and I would ever like job shame people because we've worked jobs. And if you're working a job, man, keep working at it, keep working hard. But I do want to make this very like keen point, and I want to say this is hopefully you see this as a silver lining of this conversation, is that everybody, if you got down to it, even the most cynical person probably has a dream pinging around somewhere inside their heart. Everybody has a dream. Everybody wants to build something and build a life that they can enjoy, that they can savor, and that they can experience in community with other people. This is really what we all want. We're all moving towards joy. And because for that reason, if you are working for someone else, I know you may enjoy that work or maybe you enjoy the person that you're working for, but it's difficult to build your own dream when you're steadily focused or invested in helping somebody else build theirs. And I don't mean that to disrespect the people that you might be working for or the type of work that you do. So please hear that. But hopefully you can kind of understand that there's going to have to be a point where you're going to stop. And whatever phase of life you're in, if you're transitioning out of high school, if you're still in high school, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, we've had a guy in this program that was 77. Okay, literally, I taught him how to buy and resell Nintendo Switches. I'm not kidding. Um, at any point, you have to stop and say, well, but what do I want? Like, what does this look like for me? And start to define and give your life some sense of direction and purpose. All of that stuff runs far further than simply money. Money is just a tool, all right, to help you move further in that direction with the people
Yep.
you love and care about. At least from my biased perspective, okay, and I'm willing to admit that I have a bias. That's how I perceive it, okay. But what I get to do directly impacts the people that I care about the most, and I want to do things that I can love, I can really sink my teeth into on a daily basis. And so, if you are interested in starting with close to nothing, or let's say you have very little money, or just want to like start to try to earn a little bit of extra every weekend, if that's where you are, take a swing, join Console Kings. All right. And I think you'll find yourself pleasantly surprised with the results that you can get if you take the same effort that you put in your job and put it here for a specific, intense, focused amount of time. Um, Surprise yourself, prove yourself wrong by stepping up. And if you want to push that even further, then what Chris has on the table, Recelerator, will take the small little amount the earnings you bring to the table. I don't want to say it's small; it might be great, but the earnings you bring to the table, and it will take that and amplify that even more so. And so this is great. There's literally no excuse as to why you could not start this and do this like right now today. If we were on a call, me and you one on one, whoever's hearing this, listening to this, watching this, like I guarantee you, I could jump in your zip code right now and probably find you 5 to 10 deals within 5 to 10 minutes that could make you 50 to $100. Chris knows that. I know that, my students know that, and I can say that with complete and total confidence. So if you want to jump in on the calls every Tuesday, where I'm literally going to be doing that for the people that are students of mine, like this is about to go gonzo, man. It's going to go bananas. We've had several new individuals jump in and jump on board, and super excited to see what's up. So yeah, Console Kings is just launched. I would love to have you in there as a student. That's all I have to say. Just do it. Pull the
If you guys
trigger.
are looking at the screen right now, you can see this is the actual course instead of Console Kings. Um, and I don't think this is all of it yet. I don't know how much. Yeah, we still got module 3 that Matt needs to unlock. But um, yeah, dude, this course is massive. It's really good too. I've already gone through a good amount of it. But if you guys want to join this, you can check it out in the description below in the first comment. And it's on School. It's hosted on School. So make sure to download the app if you're going to get it. That way you can view the videos and everything very easily. So the great thing about School, we've kind of switched over to School for most of our stuff here recently because it has community, it has a classroom, and it has a calendar. And you can get on calls with Matt weekly
Yep.
with the team and learn. You guys can see here, like Sean Payne just sold this special Switch Lite for $340. He bought this 3 weeks ago for $150, sold it for $340. $40.
That's
Made,
fire.
made $120 in profit. Like, wild. Like,
I
this
haven't even
is
seen that post yet. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so there's people winning, and this is a relatively new group. At the time of recording this, this is a $47 offer, but it will be, by the time you might be watching, it's probably going to be a $97 offer, just so you guys are aware.
Yeah.
And that is per month. But like, there's a lot of value in
Yep.
the Console Kings course.
Yep.
And then if you want even more value, you can upgrade a Recelerator once you hit $1,000 in profit per month. Flipping electronics. That way we can help you scale that even further to 10. You know,
Absolutely.
in Recelerator we make 6-figure flippers. That's what we do.
Straight
So,
up.
with that being said, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Another episode of the Smart Flip, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode. Will we have a guest? We don't know. We'll see. But
See you guys. Thank you.
see you guys later. Have a great day, and keep crushing.